So I'm not quite aboard the tank for Trevor or the lose for Lance or the flop for Fields or no pants for Trey Lance train quite yet, right? But it is always draft season. You're always looking forward to the next class. Some teams sooner than others. I mean, the Jets were looking forward to the 2021 draft like 3 months ago, right? So I guess it doesn't hurt to take a little peek, a little. So you may as well start at the top. Trevor Lawrence. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to record this and then we'll just save it. And then if the Vikings are getting their ass kicked against like the Titans or maybe another team down the line, I'll just like discreetly release it, just very passive aggressively. Because that's funny to me. But let's talk about Trevor Lawrence, the pride of Clemson, today. So background, T-Law, 6'6", 220. Kid is big. Turns 21 on October 6th. Happy early birthday. Was a 5-star recruit and frankly was one of the most hyped high school players of all time. Like his decision was a big time deal. He led Cartersville, Georgia high school, his team to 41 straight wins and 2 state championships. Now everyone was in. Every single school was in the Derby. So Georgia was in. It's like, oh, he plays in Georgia. Tennessee was in. Oh, he grew up in Knoxville or was born in Knoxville. Alabama's obviously in, and also Clemson, of course. Eventually committed to the Clemson Tigers, and 2018, as a true friggin' freshman, he quickly unseated incumbent starter Kelly Bryant, who had replaced who had come in and replaced Deshaun Watson. And then Trevor Lawrence went on to have one of the greatest seasons by a freshman ever. Not even by a freshman, just one of the greatest seasons, period, ever. Period. That's not English. He had 3,280 yards passing, 30 touchdowns. Perfect season with Clemson. 44-16 beatdown in the national title game against Nick Saban, where Lawrence was named the game MVP. Just an absolute bloodletting against Bama. 2019, true sophomore, since it couldn't come out. Even though, if Trevor Lawrence could have declared, I think he would have easily been the number 1 pick. Like easily, even at like age 18, 19, whatever it was going to be. It's very akin to the way if Jake Browning was able to declare after his 2016 sophomore season, he may have been the number 1 pick in the 2017 draft, which is just insane. That's a draft with Watson and Mahomes, but yeah. So as a true sophomore, racked up another 3,665 yards passing, 36 touchdowns, as well as ran the ball 563 yards and 9 scores. Led Clemson to 14 straight wins, and then ran into the Justin friggin' Jefferson LSU Tiger buzzsaw. Go JJ. And they got starched. They got destroyed, 42-25. Somehow that year he finished 7th in Heisman voting, which, okay, I don't get. Yeah, but this year is going to destroy fools. 2 games in, no problem, no muss, no fuss, right? So the kid is big, he's mobile, got a live arm, and honestly, this is not hyperbolic. He does have some of the best touch, accuracy, and anticipation that I've ever seen, and I'm talking about all levels. I'm talking about prime Peyton, prime Brady. You do see a lot of that touch. It's just some things are just uncoachable, and what Trevor Lawrence does with his anticipation and accuracy, sometimes you just can't explain it. Just take it, right? So even though I do love Trey Lance, obviously the pride of Marshall, Minnesota, I like Justin Fields, but Trevor Lawrence is the guy, and he's been that guy for multiple years. He's played at the highest level. He's never blinked. He's dominated from day one. The stage is never too big, and he's always just been that dude. And now, the drawbacks, because you're really trying to grasp at straws to pick apart his game, is like, well, he's surrounded by a talent. Aren't a lot of these guys? I mean, wasn't Kyler Murray surrounded by talent? Wasn't Baker Mayfield surrounded by talent? I mean, they both benefit from the best offensive line in college football. Oklahoma, woo, Boomer Sooner, right? And like the main drawbacks you'll see from draft pundits now is that they're fans just like you and me. Like, you do get bored with greatness. Like sometimes you're just like, what's the next thing? What's the next shiny object, right? So that's always a drawback when a player has a big time college season and say that they're draft eligible. So say that a player X has a big junior year, then they come back for their senior year, and it's just as good, but the draft, the draft committee is like, Then they start to pick apart your game after the honeymoon phase is over. You saw this with Manziel. You saw this with Tebow, even though they probably weren't going to be NFL prospects anyway. So that's really sort of a a bad example, but whatever. And I think that has happened to a degree with Trevor Lawrence, where his level of dominance, he came in so high that there wasn't necessarily a lot more room to grow, even though he has. So they'd be like, well, he's regressed. He hasn't grown. He hasn't built upon coming in and just destroying worlds and being undefeated and being one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time as a true freshman. He hasn't built on that. No. But I feel like also on and off the field, he showed true leadership, true character. And this is the kind of guy that you want to be the face of your franchise. Ronnie Sunshine Bass for the next decade and a half, 2 decades, etc. So he is that guy. And TBD, I mean, if this season does go tits up, sure, then I'm all in the tank for Trevor line right now. But, I mean, hell, even if the Vikings end up with like a 8-8 record, they miss the playoffs, 9-7, they get into the 7th seed, they lose right away. They go to Magic Carpet Ride and win the Joe Barty. I don't care. Either way, no matter how the Vikings finish this year, they should be looking towards the future. They should be drafting that heir to Kirk Cousins, because Cousins' contract is very edible after next season. They can move on with only $10 million dead 2022, so that's a good way to pass the baton. Again, we've been hammering the table. The Vikings need to be drafting a quarterback every single year, every other year. We're a big advocate of that. Now they're back into a corner. They have to do it, especially if they do somehow end up with a high draft pick, or if Spielman does trade up into the stratosphere when it comes terms of the draft picks. You have to go after your franchise guy. Trevor Lawrence is that 1A. He might be 1B. Trey Lance might be 1C. Justin Fields might be 1D. But Trevor Lawrence is the guy as of right now, number 1. So your thoughts? Trevor Lawrence. Looks good in purple, man. Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. You want to support that work, post some on the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.